to stand. Now he runs. He produces a magic print. He pulls out another one. This is incredible. This is ridiculous. This is 15 out of 10 on the incredible meter. What a player. What an entertainer. Give him the medal. Give him the Dally M medal.
Hello, footy fans, and welcome back to the Chip and Chase podcast. We are here for the final day of Magic Round. It's a very sad day. No more footy in Brisbane after this one. Very, very sad. But we're here to finally get through our last 3 game previews. The Sunday games kicking things off with the New Zealand Warriors taking on the Penrith Panthers. Now, tough little one, this one, because technically a Warriors home game, which we've had to bring to Magic Round, which if we're to make the finals, we're going to need a lot more home games this season, despite the fact we've been losing at them anyway. Warriors, they're currently sitting in 14th on the ladder, and the Penrith Panthers up in second. Isn't that crazy? You think... I don't know, personally, I've been sitting here thinking Panthers have had a relatively quiet year. They're not hitting anywhere near the heights I expect from them. And they're still second on the ladder. That is ridiculous. I'm sure maybe some stuff has changed on the ladder due to the results this round. Maybe not. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, Panthers in second is a crazy sight to see. Meanwhile, Warriors 14th. That's also a crazy sight to see. Did not expect us to be down there. But this one's taking place 1:50 p.m. So for all of you who have your Magic Round tickets, you're going to have to get there quite early in the day for this one. And if you're hungover from everything that took place on the Saturday, it's going to be a bit of hard track for you guys. But we'll kick things off with the team list news. So for the Warriors, they have been pounded pillar to post in the injury department. So we'll go through. The outs for this team are Edward Cossey, Freddie Lussick, Rocco Berry, Sean Johnson, and the late development of Tohu Harris coming out as well. So let's just read through their team. Tane Torpicki takes his place at fullback, which moves Charles Nickel-Klukstad to 5'8" and Tamare Martin to halfback to cover the loss of Sean Johnson. Ali Leotawa comes into the centres for the injured Rocco Berry. Marcelo Montoya returns on the wing for Ed Cossey. In the forward pack, Dylan Walker now starts at lock forward for Tohu Harris. And Paul Roach has been added to the bench in jersey 21. Excuse me. So the interchange for the Warriors at the moment is Tom Ale, Jazz Tavanga, Jacob Laban, and Paul Roach. I am hearing inklings that Zion Mayu may be the late inclusion and he'll get a go here, but we'll have to wait and see about that one. If that's the case, they don't really have that utility on the bench with Dylan Walker starting, so Paul Roach may be the answer to that and they may keep him on. Also, jersey 23, the reserves have been trimmed and there's only 2 left. Ben Farr has been left as one of the other reserves in this one. So hopefully we get to see a bit of Ben Farr, if not in this game, hopefully this season. For the Penrith Panthers, however, the big change for them, of course, Nathan Cleary has made way, succumbing to that hamstring injury. That brings young Jack Cole in at 5'8" and moves Jerome Luai to fullback to cover that. Taylor May has been dropped from the side and stood down from the Penrith Panthers pending domestic violence charges. So Paul Alamotti comes in at centre in jersey 18. And lastly, Liam Henry is a late out, which brings Tyrone Peachy and Scott Sorensen onto the bench. Maverick Gaia has also been dropped to 18th man. So a few little changes there for the Penrith Panthers. It's still a very, very strong side. That's still their first choice forward pack, essentially without Scott Sorensen, but he's been named on the bench regardless, so you can argue that is their full-strength side. It's going to be a tough carry for the Warriors in this one. I don't see a world where we get it done, so let's get into those tips right now. Yeah, I've tipped the Penrith Panthers. Let's be real, guys. Love the Warriors. I think even at full strength, I'm still tipping the Penrith Panthers here. I'd love, this would be crazy if this is the game we get an upset. I just don't see any world or universe where that happens. So, yeah, Penrith Panthers, don't call me biased. I'm tipping the Panthers here. In terms of how I see it playing out, I mean, it doesn't really matter, does it? The Panthers defense has been incredible all season. Meanwhile, the Warriors defense has been atrocious. So while the Panthers haven't been hitting the attacking highs that I've expected from them, it doesn't make too much of a difference if we can't defend. And I think with all of the losses, it's going to make it even more difficult. There's going to be too many new combinations trying to get out there. I am excited to see Dylan Walker step up in a leadership role. I think he'll have a big voice in this side. But yeah, let's be real. There's not a world we win this one, the Wires. So I can always hope, I can pray, but I'm not getting my hopes very high at all, so I can't be disappointed. But we'll move on to the second game of the Sunday Magic Round, which is the Melbourne Storm taking on the Parramatta Eels. Storm are in third on the ladder, Eels 13th. This is at 4:05 p.m. It's quite interesting seeing the Eels in 13th. Obviously, they've been losing a lot of games. They've been without Mitch Moses for a long time. Essentially, haven't won many games, or any maybe, since they lost him. But I thought they performed really well last week against the Broncos. So I'm excited to see them have a crack in this one. I would have maybe tipped them for an upset if the Storm weren't coming off a loss themselves. I just think that Craig Bellamy's going to have them up for it. Craig Bellamy does not like a loss no matter what it is. So I think the Storm will come out to fire. But let's go through the team list news first. For the Storm, it's a relatively unchanged team. Xavier Coates has come in for Grant Anderson from last week, and I believe the only change for their side. Jack Harworth, of course, was a late inclusion on the bench. He has been named there this time with Joe Chan. He was originally named in the reserves. He has now been trimmed, and he will not be playing in this one. So you'd expect Jack Harworth will play that role. For the Parramatta Eels, not too much of note here either. Just that Ethan Sanders has been left out of the side. I'm not sure if there's an injury or drop or form, whatnot there. I thought Sanders has been pretty good. They've elected to go with Dejan Arce for this game. Maybe it's just they wanted a bit of experience against the Melbourne Storm. Who knows what the reasoning is, but he has come in at 5'8". Young Blaze Talangi still at fullback. Sean Russell in the centres and Simonson on the wing. With how they played last week, I expect that might be the recipe they elect to go with for the rest of the season, or at least for the foreseeable future. The forward pack, relatively the same, and Bryce Cartwright has come onto the bench with Brendan Hands at 18th man. So, as we alluded to earlier, I have tipped the Storm in this one. Now, I would have liked a Parramatta upset. I'd still love to see a Parramatta upset. I'm all for a close competition, as you guys know. But I just don't see it happening when the Storm are coming off a loss, that incredible loss to the Sharkies, incredible victory to the Sharkies. Yeah, we know Craig Bellamy. He hates that. He really hates a loss. He'll have them revving and ready to go. I'm not sure Magic Round makes the world of difference to the Storm. Bellamy's going to come out and get them to do their job no matter what. It's not going to necessarily mean, we have to play more exciting. He just wants wins, and I think they will find another one against the Eels, unfortunately, in this one. But I've got a little bit of hope. I've got more hope in the Eels in this game than I do for the Warriors against the Panthers. Let's say that. But that's not saying much, to be honest. Let's hope the Eels can get away with it, but I do not think so. I think the Storm are going to be too good across the park in this game. That will move us into the final game of Magic Round, and the final game of Round 11. The Wests Tigers taking on the Dolphins. Tigers, they're in 15th on the ladder. Dolphins 5th. This game taking place 6:25 p.m. A bit of an odd time slot, that one, but alas, we move on. Yes, let's get into it then. The Tigers team list news. There's a few little bits and pieces for this one. Solomon Alamalo, apologies if I'm not pronouncing that name right. I'm hoping I am. He comes back onto the wing, shifting Brent Naden into the centres to offset the loss of Stafford Toa, who once again went down with a hammy injury. Everybody's going down with hammy injuries. Poor Stafford Toa was just another recipient of that, another victim of the hamstring plague. Beyond that, for the Tigers, Alex Twal is starting at lock for Isaiah Papali'i, who has been suspended. I think it's only a 1 week suspension for Papali'i, but after his incredible performance last week, he is now out of the side. Twal getting the start at lock. Seyfarth is also into the starting second row with John Bateman out. So it's weird to see Samuela Fainu and Alex Seyfarth are now the starting second rowers with, at the start of the season, it was John Bateman and Isaiah Papali'i. So, yeah, John Bateman, he is out with an injury. I can't recall what injury it was, but he's expected to miss like 8 weeks or so. It might be a pec injury or something. So we'll have to hopefully wish him well and he can come back before the end of the season. But it gives Alex Seyfarth his shot at second row in this one. Their bench for this game, Jake Simpkin, Fanua Pole, Asu Kapoa, and Sione Fainu. Now, I can't recall if this is Sione Fainu's debut game or if he has played before. Sorry, guys, I'm going to have a quick look into that one. Now, I don't believe Sione has played NRL yet, so this is going to be a really good shot for him. If I've got that wrong, my apologies, but if not, congratulations to Sione, and I can't wait to see him rip and tear. Moving over to the Dolphins, however, the big one here, Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, has been included after his injury in the fullback role. This pushes Trey Fuller to 18th man, which he still remains after the reserves were cut earlier. So we'll have to see if he does get a game, Trey Fuller in this one. But Hamiso back is very, very exciting, especially for Dolphins fans. You're going to want to see your freak back in the fullback jersey. I think he's going to come back raring to go. I know it's back off a hamstring injury, so he might take it light. I don't think Hammer's going to take it light. Not when he's coming into Origin, not when he's been out for so long and he just wants to play and get out there and open up those legs and those strides and find some space. So Hammer is back at fullback. The rest of their team is relatively unchanged. Max Plath is out. I can't recall if that was an injury or whatnot, but he's out of this one. Kenny Bromwich is the straight swap in at lock forward to replace him. So their bench is the same and the rest of their squad is the same. Now, I would love to pick the Tigers. I really still have belief in them. There's not many teams in the NRL at the moment I don't have belief in. The Rabbitohs, definitely no. The Titans, even them, I have inklings where I think they can win games and stuff. As I said, I would have picked them earlier this week if they didn't have the halves situation that they did, and they still almost got away with that win, so shout out to the Titans. The Tigers, they're in a similar boat where I have a belief in them. I think they can win games on their day, and I don't think their worst games are anywhere near to what they were in the past. So I'd like to pick them. I just don't think I can against this Dolphins team who have been going really, really well. We mentioned Hammer being back and all of the ins and outs for the Titans, a few losses that they've got, which I think are going to be really important for them. We also failed to mention that Aiden Caesar, of course, is still missing. He isn't like a replacement from this game. Of course, he missed last week as well with that suspension. But he's another person that is missing from their starting 13 or even their starting 17. Of course, Bud Sullivan, he has been filling in. He played pretty well last week, had a few really good moments. I'd like to see him take another step up, and I think if the Tigers are to win, Bud Sullivan's going to have a blinder, which we know he can do. He's a very, very talented player, is Jaden Sullivan. So I'm excited to see how this one plays up. I do have more hope in the Tigers winning this one than I do the Warriors, as we mentioned earlier. But I have tipped the Dolphins. I'm going to be a bit more realistic about it. I managed to get a couple upsets this week. No, I went down on the Roosters game, unfortunately, but I went up on the Raiders one, so that one was a bit of a help. But yeah, that one sort of wraps us up for the last game of Magic Round and Magic Round as a whole and Round 11 as a whole. So thank you guys for tuning into this one. Hopefully we get a lot of great games to finish us off for Magic Round, whether you guys are out at the games yourself, you're at the Caxton, or you're sitting back at home on the couch and watching these ones like myself. Hopefully we're treated to some fantastic rugby league, as we have been all Magic Round so far. Once again, for those guys who haven't heard the other podcasts, I did realise I stuffed up my Friday podcast. Didn't realise that till Saturday morning, though. So that one ended up getting deleted. We're taken down. My apologies. I didn't re-upload the better one because at that point all my the content was outdated and it didn't really matter. So apologies for that little error there. But for those of you who have missed, basically leading into next week, we'll be combining all of these preview podcasts into one big one that we'll upload on the Thursday. That is because a lot more content that we normally cover in these, that being the bets and stuff, that will be heading over to the Instagram. So if you guys aren't following me on the Instagram, go and do so. That is at Chip and Chase Podcast. But yeah, we'll be doing a bit more content on the Instagram there and just trying to get all of these into one big podcast around that 25-minute mark, maybe 30. We'll have to see. Just decreases the workload for myself, not having to do these every sort of day over the weekend, which is something I need to be doing at the moment with everything else that I've got going on. Hopefully in the future we can fill in those gaps and get some more content going over the weekends. But right now, just looking to cut it down to 3 podcasts a week, that being the review, the Supercoach wrap-up, and then the preview podcast. But that one will wrap us up there. So thank you guys for tuning into this one, and I'll see you guys next time.